In this video, we answer the essential question, how can I use shortcuts to solve special case polynomials? How can I use shortcuts to solve special case polynomials? Now, you've already learned how to multiply polynomials together, but there's three shortcuts I'm going to cover with you in this video. If you learn these, it just makes multiplying these situations a little bit faster. You don't have to use these shortcuts, but they will help you save a little bit of time. Okay, the first example is when we have a perfect square trinomial. That means that we actually have two binomials that are identical, and it's just one term added to the second term. So in this case, a plus b times a plus b, which is the same as a plus b squared. The second one is similar, but it's a minus b times a minus b, or a minus b squared. And then this one called the difference of squares trinomial. In this case, we have two terms that are added together in the first binomial and then subtracted from each other in the second binomial. And in each of these cases, there is a shortcut that you can use to go ahead and multiply these out. And the shortcut is actually this form right here. Now, the first thing you do when you run into one of these is take a look at the first one of a plus b times a plus b. You identify what a and b are. Now, a is always going to be the first term, so I'm going to write that out so you see it. In this case, a is equal to x. And look at your b term right here in our pattern. B is equal to 2. So the way you solve this is you just say, okay, I'm going to just write it out in this form, and then I'll simplify. So let's go ahead and do that. So if a is x, then in our pattern here, a squared, that just becomes x squared. The middle term is 2. I'm going to put these in parentheses, by the way, because you're basically plugging in x for a. This is going to be plus 2 times a, which is x in this case, times b, which is 2. And then we have plus b squared. Well, b is equal to 2 in this case. So once you figure out that a is x and b is 2, just write your pattern down. And now all we have to do is simplify this. I can get rid of the parentheses here. This is x squared plus 2 times x times 2. Well, the 2 and the 2 can be multiplied together. That's 4. And then we have the x left over. And then for the last term, 2 squared, we just simplify that. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And you're done. You have multiplied these out. Alright, let's try the second scenario. It's going to look almost identical. In this case, we have an a, we have a value, first term, and then in the second term, they're subtracted from each other, but they're being multiplied together, two binomials that are identical. This is actually x minus 2 times x minus 2. Same thing here, let's identify a. A is our first term, that's x. B is our second term, that's 2. Now be careful here, because sometimes you'll think, well, our second term is negative 2. Be careful, because the minus sign is part of the actual solution, or part of the format that tells you how to multiply these two together with a shortcut. So that minus sign is part of the template, I guess you would say. So we don't want to put a minus here. The b is just this value right here, and the negative sign is ignored. Alright, let's go ahead now and write out our format. We've got a squared, that's just x squared. Oops, sorry, it's not plus now, it's actually minus. And then we've got 2 times a, which is x, times b, which is 2, and then plus b, which is 2 squared. So our final answer shortcut here is x squared minus 2x times 2. 2 times x times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. X is still there. Nothing's being multiplied by it. And then we've got our 2 squared, which is 4. Look at how close these are. They're basically identical in solution, except for if this is a plus, this second term becomes a plus. If this is a minus, the second term becomes a minus. Last one, called difference of squares. Same kind of setup. You just identify what a is. A here is also x. Notice b here, you're ignoring the sign. B is just this term without the sign. That's 2 here, and that's 2 here. So b is equal to 2. Our solution, let's look at our pattern. It's just a squared. Well, a is x. And it's minus b squared. Well, b is 2. So our final solution here is just x squared minus 4. Now if you memorize these patterns, you could see a question like this and immediately just go, oh, that's just x squared minus 4. You could look at this and say this is just x squared minus 4x plus 4. So if you learn the patterns, you can save some time. You don't have to learn the patterns. You can just do it the long way and multiply out by distribution and get the same answer. Let's use the shortcuts to solve this word problem. Sally has a square photo with side lengths of x minus 3 centimeters. The photo has a frame with a uniform width. That means it's the same width all the way around. The side length of the photo and frame together is x plus 4 centimeters. Let's go ahead and draw that diagram right now before we continue. So I'm going to go ahead and let's make like a square photo. And then we'll go ahead and put a frame around it that I'll do my best to try to make it look like it's uniform all the way around. That's not going to work. Let's try it one more time. There's our frame. Alright, let's label what we know. The photo, which is the middle part, has side lengths of x minus 3. Now notice, class, it's a square. That means the sides are all congruent. So I'm going to write here that this side is x minus 3, and this side right here is x minus 3. There's our length and our width. And then for our frame, and photo and frame together, that's the outside edges, that's going to be x plus 4 right here and x plus 4 right here. So now we have all of our dimensions written, our diagram drawn. Here's what they want you to do. Write the expression for the area of the frame only. So what they're looking for is, they don't want the area of the frame and photo, the whole thing, and they don't want the area of just the photo. They want the whole thing minus the photo, which means all we're going to be looking at is just the area of the frame, which is this outside edge around the outside of the photo. So first find the expression, then find the area of the frame only when x equals 30. So we're going to find the expression, and then we're going to plug in x equals 30 and see what the area of the frame only will be if x equals 30. All right? So let's write out something just to kind of think through this. How do we find the frame only? Well, we find it by looking at this. The frame only is equal to the whole thing minus the photo. And that makes logical sense. The frame only is everything minus this square taken out. That's going to leave us with just the frame. So let's go ahead and write out our expressions for these. Well, the whole thing is the outside dimensions, x plus 4 times x plus 4. And the photo only is, here's our length, here's our width, and here's our length, or here's our length and here's our width. That's just going to be x minus 3 times x minus 3. Now we can rewrite this to be x plus 4 squared. That's just a binomial multiplied by itself. And this is just x minus 3 squared. And now you see, class, that we actually have these two situations that we can use shortcuts to multiply out these two binomials. Here's the first scenario, a first value plus a second value squared. And then here's a second scenario, a first value minus a second value. And that's also squared. So let's go ahead and use our patterns. I'll kind of show that up on the top so you can see it on the screen. So let's see, I'll get a different color if I can. So x plus 4 squared, well, a is equal to x. So on our pattern right here, the first term is going to be x squared. B is equal to 4. That means we're going to have on the end plus 4 squared. And the middle term is going to be, actually, you know what? I'm going to save a little bit of time here. Let's just do part of this math right now. It's going to be x squared. This third term here is going to be b squared, which is 4 squared. That's 16. And our middle term is going to be plus 2 times x, 2 times a times b, which is 2 times x times 4. Well, 2 times x times 4, 2 times 4 is 8. And then we have an x there. There's our first one done. Now we're going to put that in parentheses. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these parentheses right now. And let's just put this whole thing in parentheses. Now we're going to subtract. Now we've got perfect square again. Our a value is x, so this is going to be x squared. Our b value is 3, so this end is going to be plus 9. And the middle is going to be minus 2 times x times 3, which is minus 6x. So there's our two trinomials. All we have to do now is follow our rules of adding and subtracting terms, and we can go ahead and solve this. So let's set this up in a different color. I've got x squared. Okay, let's take that out. Looks like we have another, in fact, let's go ahead and mark our common terms. There's x squared and x squared. We've got 8x and negative 6x. And we've got 16, which is a constant, and 9, which is a constant. Let's rewrite these in the proper order. So we got x squared. Now look at this one. This is not x squared. This is, we've got to distribute the negative sign. This is negative or minus x squared. Then I've got plus 8x. And we've got minus negative 6x. That ends up being plus 6x. And then we have 16. I'll cross those off. And then we have 16. And we have minus 9. So minus 9. Now let's go ahead and group like terms. Those are like terms. The two x terms are here. The two constants are here. Let's go ahead and rewrite this now. X squared minus x squared, that actually is 0. That's like 2 minus 2. So x squared minus x squared is 0. 8x plus 6x is 14x. And 16 minus 9 is 7. So the first part of our question is this. This is the first part of our answer. Write the expression for the area of the frame only. It's 14x plus 7. So that's it. That's simplified pretty nice. The second part of the question is find the area of the frame only when x equals 30. So the way we write this out is, remember I showed you this? If x equals 30, let's put a colon right here. And let's go ahead and plug in our value. That means we plug that into the expression for the frame only. 14 times x, which is 14 times 30, plus 7. And now we can go ahead and plug that into our calculator. We've got 14 parentheses 30 plus 7 equals 427. So this answer is, our area will be 427, and this is centimeters. Our unit of measure is centimeters, and remember, since this is area, it's going to be centimeters squared. So we've solved the two things. We've found the expression for the frame only, which is right here. And I could even, let's just go ahead and mark this. Frame only. And I'm just going to put an arrow, or just put a colon there. So you see, there's our frame only. And then here is the area of the frame only if x equals 30. So it shows you how we can apply those special properties or special cases. Again, if you don't know how to do those or don't understand this, just write it out the way you've done before with other problems and multiply it out the long way with distributive property. It'll all work out exactly the same in the end.